sea. As the voyagers prepare to face the next trial, not only their survival, but the future of their new world hangs in the balance. Chapter 1. Water, water, everywhere. Parth could say with certainty that he was getting tired of this floor of the dungeon. Even for someone who grew up in a coastal city, this was just too much water. The time since they had entered the next level of the dungeon had been a mixed bag. On one hand, they had managed to cover some distance. On the other, they were not prepared for the trial of water. They had arrived here early, after all. The weather was volatile, and as a result, they were impeded quite severely a couple of times. Generally, they followed the same strategy as before. Andrea created a platform of ice, which she levitated with the aid of Emilia and carried forward. Unlike before, mana was not the only issue with such a method. The main issue was the storms. In a dimension made almost entirely of water, storms were problematic, especially thunderstorms. It was an odd experience for Parth. In the previous trial, there were no oddities in terms of climate. This one was quite the opposite. A calm climate was rare in this level of the dungeon. Of course, the data packet built into their signet rings informed them of such. For both the trial of water and the trial of the sky, the climate played a major role in how the levels expressed themselves. To top it all off, there were the occasional monsters that worsened it as well. In this domain, the monsters they had faced so far were hostile hippocamps, beasts that had the upper body of a horse and the hind parts of a fish. On paper, it painted a beautiful picture of an aquatic creature of myth. In reality, the monsters looked horrible. Parth suspected that the teeth played a major factor in it. Horses with sharp fangs did not look good. Not to mention that the forelimbs did not have hooves, but fins instead. The entire ensemble just looked odd. Just like shug monkeys, these two traveled in groups. Heck, Parth did not know what exactly to classify them as. They were half horses and half fish, but neither herd nor school sat well with him as proper terms. Nonetheless, the things were annoying whenever they came across them. The jets of water that the creature spat were not that much of a bother, as he often vaporized them with his flames. The main issue was that the things jumped an insane height from the water. Apparently, the vile creatures liked to jump out at unassuming prey and drag them deep underwater for a snack. Parth had no intentions of testing that out. Thankfully, the voyagers were not alone. The two teams working together took down the beasts easily. That didn't mean that it wasn't annoying. Such fights cost them mana. Especially for Andrea and Emilia, since they had to maintain the flight trajectory. Nonetheless, hippocamps were the only monsters they had faced in the domain so far. It was both weird and relieving. This, coupled with the atrocious and downright hostile climate, had forced them to stay put on a few islands for extensive periods of time. When they entered, they had a little over 2 days remaining. Most of that had been spent. Now they had a couple more hours left before they would be pulled back to safety. Back to Viz. For 2 days of travel, they hadn't made as much progress as they would have liked. Compared to their traveling speed in the first trial, this one was a major downgrade. Then again, they were not fully prepared for this trial. Most of their survival gear and provisions were aimed towards clearing the trial of the land. Only when they would come here in earnest for the actual trial would they be able to gauge their actual rate of progress. Parth, for one, would love to approach this trial again with a rebreather and waterproof armor on him.